mirrors. What are mirrors? I'm not talking about the ones that you look into when you're putting on your makeup, but also those. We need mirrors in the form of other people because consciousness can't see itself, right? We need to be reflected out there in the world in order to know ourselves. Of course, the issue then becomes, are we over-identified with those reflections? In other words, if somebody says, "Oh, you look ugly," do you believe them? Do you suddenly go, "Oh no, do I look ugly?" And then you lose yourself and you don't even remember whether you believe you look ugly or maybe you think you look great. Or maybe it doesn't even matter to you how you look, but somebody saying that you look ugly all of a sudden shakes you. That's a kind of mirror and a call to work with that mirror, work with your reaction to the mirror. So we need mirrors. It may seem like, oh my God, why would we even bother? But like I said, consciousness cannot perceive itself without mirrors. So I want to tell you a little story. Real mirrors count here too. I'm currently looking into a mirror. It's called a camera, but it is showing me what it is receiving of what I look like. And then when I look at that image, I have an internal reaction. It's the same with, your phone camera. It's the same with your bathroom mirror. It's the same with your makeup mirror. We're looking into mirrors all the time. So yes, literal mirrors and yes, figurative mirrors, as in what you're seeing out there in the world. How are people reacting to you? What are your loved ones or your coworkers or your children or your animals or whoever else reflecting to you about you? So the story I want to tell you is I recently went to a new restaurant. There was an open mic. It was a place I'd never been to. And when I went there, at some point I had to go use the restroom. And I'd never been to that restaurant and I've never been to that restroom. And after I used the restroom, I looked in the mirror over the sink. And I was like, oh, do I really look like that? I had this whole reaction that, oh man, I look terrible today. I didn't even this and I didn't even that. And I should have done this with my makeup. I should have worn something different. I look ugly. And the old stories about self-criticism came up. And it gave me the idea, it gave me, after I've reflected on what was going on, because I don't tend to react to myself in the mirror that way ever. So what I realized was that that was a new mirror. That was not a mirror I'd ever looked in before. The lighting is different, the angle is different, my distance between me and the physical mirror is not one necessarily that I'm used to, etc. I know this seems silly, okay? It seems obvious, but because it provoked this internal reaction, I had to think about it. I was like, why am I suddenly so self-critical? I wondered if because I was at this open mic, I wasn't performing actually, but I was there and there were people there, and I wondered if all these new people are judging me, and that wasn't the issue. I wasn't worried about being perceived by other people. This was about self-perception, right? The mirror is an interesting archetype because on the one hand, it can show you things that you want to see. On the other hand, it can show you things you don't want to see. Or it can show you things about yourself that you wish you didn't know you had, and so forth, right? So that was an interesting reflection to me, pun intended, on how new mirrors, different mirrors, and that was a literal mirror, but I'm also talking about different people, meeting new people, different friends, connections, coworkers, therapists, counselors, guides, whoever, teachers that will perceive you and We all have this because we had to be seen by our parents, and some of us were seen deeply, and some of us were not seen at all, and some of us were seen somewhere in the middle, right? And if you have a wound around being seen or being unseen, being misperceived, being misunderstood, the mirrors you receive in the world are going to speak to this for you in a very deep way and give you opportunities to recognize how are you relating to those mirrors. And I was thinking about this because what an awful moment. And I went to the bathroom several times. It was a long night, and every time I had this reaction. And I just thought about how new mirrors are actually a challenge to the ego. Our ego does not want to be seen in new ways. If you think about it, you have a mirror in the bathroom, you have your phone camera, maybe if that's what you use for a mirror, you have your makeup mirror, you have whatever mirrors that literal physical mirrors and cameras that you are familiar with, that you've integrated how they reflect you to yourself. You've kind of found these ways of relating to that reflection that you then want to just keep status quo. But then when there is a new mirror, like a bathroom mirror you've never seen before yourself in, or a new person who reflects something different about you to you, and this kind of brings up all this old stuff potentially, right? How much courage it actually takes. Sometimes you don't realize it does, but it does, especially with new people. But how much courage it actually takes to see yourself in a new mirror and to incorporate that into your self concept, into your sense of self without judgment or releasing the judgment or recognizing there was judgment to begin with. That was surprising to me because I'm used to the mirrors I'm used to, and I didn't even realize that the status quo had been established until it was shaken. And so, my encouragement, my reflection to you, again, pun intended, may you have courage to look in new mirrors. May you have courage to see reflections, see facets of yourself reflected to you for your own self-knowledge, for your own self-reflection, without um, automatically jumping to the conclusion that that reflection of you is bad, that you are bad, that there's something wrong with you. And if you do go there, that you challenge that in yourself as an old story. There's no such thing as bad, right? Bad was something that our parents taught us. If you do this, you're good. If you do this, you're bad. And sure, certain things, don't hit your dog, right? Don't hit your little sister. That's not good. That's not kind. But very often, what we internalized was, I'm bad. If I do this, I'm bad. And sometimes the bad was having an emotion, having grief, having anger, having sadness, expressing something that was difficult. And the reflection that came to you from your parents was that that's bad and therefore you're bad. Therefore, you come to be fearful or avoidant of new mirrors because maybe they'll tell you you're bad and you don't want to hear it because it was too painful the first million times you experienced that as a child. May you have courage to look in new mirrors. Many blessings.